What's going on, believers? So this week, to be honest, has been more of a survival mode type of week, in my opinion, and I'll get into the reasons for that here in a second. Just read over this risk disclaimer really quick, and get into the economic calendar. No high or medium impact news on the U.S. dollar today. To be honest, most of this week is relatively quiet as far as news is concerned, and then pulling up from last week, which started here, and then we'll go into the end of next week. So we'll pull up 3 weeks here. So last week, this week, and the upcoming week. So remember the shortened week last week with Memorial Day on Monday. There was employment and inflation related news throughout the week. Also, the beginning of a new monthly candle heading into this week. Oh, and then, sorry, how can I forget? As well as non farm employment. So typically, I like to see this if it's a new month beginning. I would have rather this have come out this Friday. So instead of it being the second, right? Like it's starting. It's literally the first Friday of June. A lot of times, what I'll see though, if it's going to be so early in the month, they'll push it back to the next Friday. But in this case, that wasn't what happened. And so, just looking at this week, right? Monday, there was inflation related news. No higher medium impact Tuesday or Wednesday. Unemployment claims is every Thursday, and it's now high impact, so that's coming out on Thursday, and then nothing higher medium impact on Friday. And then next week, nothing. Well, actually, excuse me, 10-year bond auction Monday, and then Tuesday CPI, important inflation related news. Wednesday PPI, important inflation related news, and then the federal funds rate. So that's interest rate decisions. Interest rates run the financial world. They make it go around. Then Thursday, more unemployment claims and more inflation related news. And on Friday, more inflation related news. And I'm honestly have no idea really what this is. And it doesn't have an exact date. I mean, an exact time. But if you want to read over that really quick, there you go. Again, these are just to me mostly smoke and mirrors, but the interest rates for sure, I say hold a lot of weight in my perspectives, particularly related to the dollar index and whether or not I'm bullish or bearish on that, which will then lead to me having my analysis for US stock indices and foreign currency. I've lately started to engage with gold and GBP USD as well as USD JPY. So those are all assets that have some sort of confluence with the dollar index as far as allowing for higher probability setups using confirmations with my analysis between two of those assets, one being dollar, always the dollar index, and then the other being the other asset that I'm looking for a trade in. But so now getting to the charts. So for today and just this week in particular, right? So again, this was Friday, NFP Friday here. So a nice explosive move higher on the weekly chart. This orange shaded area was a liquidity void, just meaning an area where there was absolutely no trading in this particular quarterly contract, the June contract for the E-mini S&P. And so market traded into it on Friday without reaching the high. This week opens up here where the yellow line is, higher, lower, but what I'm seeing is just it's accumulating right at this level. It pushes up Monday, falls short in the morning of the high end of that liquidity void. reprices back to the weekly opening price, and then eventually by noon it was able to reach into the high end of that level, quickly ran back down to the low end of it. See the wicks trade below it, but the bodies of the candles are respecting it. And then going into where it shifted from Monday to Tuesday, still within the consolidation, but lower underneath this sell side, more accumulation in my opinion. All of this really just accumulation. Finally tags this sell side from Monday morning on Tuesday morning, runs back to the weekly opening price. There's this 15-minute inefficiency that had difficulty getting any types of body closed below it, even though the wicks colored outside the line here. Eventually, though, runs the intraday highs here in the afternoon, consolidates above the weekly opening price. London session sees a run lower, then right back higher, taking out these highs. Little consolidation here. At the opening today, one more run higher, perfectly tapping the high end of that liquidity void. 4304.75 is the high of this candle. That level is 4304.75, the high end of this weekly liquidity void. From there, lower, taking out the low of the yellow shaded area, taking out this swing low, and ultimately failing so far to get back down to that M15 inefficiency. But within the consolidation between the weekly opening price and the initial sell side from Monday for the week. And so, again, this is just how the week has played out so far since that yellow line. And that's why I'm saying it's more of a survival mode type of week. It's creating a range, but it's very volatile, very choppy, and it takes an understanding of liquidity, order pairing, and a whole bunch of other things that is not possible to learn overnight. Again, these things I've been looking into, studying for specifically the things that Inner Circle Trader teaches his concepts. Been studying them for about, I want to say, maybe a year and about 8 months or so. Don't quote me on that, but that's somewhere within that range. I know it's over a year and a half, but less than 2 years. And overall, as far as my experience looking at these markets, looking at charts in general, February 1st, 2021 was the day that all began for me. So still early on in my journey. Again, I consider this my junior year, if you will, and I do plan on graduating early as far as just becoming a professional price action reader. And then the second part of that is then becoming a professional trader, which requires me to manage my emotions and manage my capital more effectively. And once the blending of those three things, understanding price delivery, managing emotions, managing capital, once the three of those kind of reach a point that I can't, I can't describe it for anybody else except for myself, right? I'll know when I get to that point. But long story short is once those things are where they need to be in my development, there is no limit, right? I like this song by Lil Wayne, "The Sky is the Limit," but there really is no limit once the three of those things are where they need to be. And so I did just want to hop on here and talk a little bit about price. I haven't done a live price commentary so far this week because, like I said, it's survival mode out here. So most of these days, when I come to the charts in the morning, I'm not really liking what I'm seeing. It's a lot of volatility, really fast moves, running one side and then quickly back to the other. But again, my reservations are just keeping in mind last week, NFP week, start of a new monthly candle, large range expansion after it had traded lower. So last week, it opened up with a gap higher just beneath this buy side, and I spoke about this already in the past video, but just to wrap this up, right? So open with a gap higher, did not engage the buy side. Once again, did not engage the buy side. lower into a daily inefficiency, accumulates in there, equal highs left here as well, run those equal highs, run these equal highs and that buy side that it have failed to reach to, which was an old weekly high, find support there, bodies of the candles, runs into the liquidity void from the weekly chart, accumulates this week, right, underneath there, tags the high, lower, back to the low end of it, accumulation again here, one more time perfectly to the exact level of the high of it, back down again, but still within his range. And what's coming up next week? While this was a relatively quiet week as far as high and medium impact news, there is CPI, PPI, and a new interest rate decision being released into the market. So these conditions, the narrative is why I was kind of hesitant most days this week, and it really didn't make any sense for me to hop on and do a live price commentary because it would have been a lot of just I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, right? And so if I don't fucking know, I'm not going to be putting risk on the table. And I want to give ICT just the biggest shout out because before him, I had no idea how to identify when to avoid trading. The people that I was learning from before, the way I was learning how to trade before was it put the mindset inside of me that I could do it every day. And that all I needed to do was understand support and resistance. And for example, just to keep it simple, right? Support would be like a floor. So this level here would be viewed as support to me in the past when I first was learning about this. But now you see I label the shit sell side liquidity because I'm understanding that below old lows, there if and just I can assume that people were buying in here, whether they knew what they were doing or not. I can assume that people were buying somewhere here, maybe even higher within the middle of the range. But because these are lows here, they've got their stop losses below there. That's liquidity. So when it runs away from there, even if let's say for example somebody doesn't use stop losses, but once it runs away from where they got in at, then they're gonna go to the most lowest recent low in the area and they're gonna put their stop loss there. So there's sell stops or sell side liquidity resting below here, as well as there's a particular order type that you can place called a sell stop or a buy stop. A sell stop means that you're selling on weakness. So if you put a sell stop at this low, that's not a stop loss, right? For a buy order, an actual sell stop order is saying, hey, if it breaks this low, put me in a sell because if it breaks that low, I think it's going lower. And then vice versa, right? For a buy. So this area at first could have been looked at as a resistance level, but you see, I label it buy side liquidity. Why is that? Well, because I can assume that here is going to be buy stop orders, which are stop losses for sell orders, regardless of where somebody got in at. Somebody could have got in a sell here. Somebody could have gotten a sell here. Somebody could have gotten a sell here. But what I know is that as it's drifting away and this has a swing high and it seems like, okay, this is going to be the high, the top, the stop losses will be placed there, meaning that there's liquidity resting here. So when it is consolidating here and then it pushes higher and it takes that level out, someone could be looking at that as a resistance broken. Now we're going higher. So they could also have a buy stop order here, which basically means buying strength. So if the market reprices higher than this level here, there are people that want to buy it, anticipating it's going to continue pushing higher. And those are called breakout artists by my mentor ICT. That's low key one of the initial ways I was taught on how to trade the markets. But what happened was a lot of times this was a resistance level, for example, would be traded to and through, and instead of it showing strength or continuation, it will quickly return back into the range. And that was what I learned is a fake out. Fake outs became my nemesis, my worst enemy. Fake outs literally had me afraid for the longest to even do breakout trades And so thank God for ICT, because once I was able to understand the market from the perspective of liquidity, and that's the whole name of this business is liquidity, is that when the narrative suggests that price will be held in the consolidation, now I know how I can trust to fade a fake out or fade a potential breakout. Just meaning that when it's everybody else is thinking, oh man, it's gonna keep going. If my narrative is right, I can be taking a sell here, which is actually what I did. I actually caught a sell up here, right? Beautiful. And just because of the nature of the beast, and because a lot of people were expecting and are still expecting, because technically I'd still say it's in the bear market. I've said that before. I say any week now a deep retracement is due, if not just a complete continuation of the bear market. But greed is a motherfucker. So the powers that be, the people that are the richest people in the world, they have their money invested in these assets. They don't want to see their price drop down again, right? They were able to accumulate a lot during COVID once that drop happened. And during this current bear market that since fall of last year has been a bull market, to be honest, right? So they've been able to see a lot of profit, basically being counterparty to all of the retail minded traders that every time a drop happens, now it's like, oh, okay, the crash is coming. Let me jump in sales. And that's where that example for the narrative for why someone would be wanting to sell below this low. Because, hey, look, this is a key low. From that low, it took out a high, a key high. It breaks that low. Oh, it's going to keep going. But instead, breaks that low, accumulates. So all of the sales that retail minded traders are placing under here are being paired with buy orders by the powers that be, smart money, and that's being used to run it one more time up to the high end of that. They're able to take their profits up there to people that are willing to buy it at a higher price. And then if they want, also they can take more sell orders here and get out at the weekly opening price, get out at this swing low, right? And so it's just that paradigm shift as far as my ability to, and I truly want to thank God for this, is my ability to analyze things from a logical viewpoint. I think that that's a gift that I was blessed with. I believe that we all are given gifts, and no matter what it is that somebody believes in, it's just a matter of having belief that there's a reason for certain things. And so I don't want to make this too long. I actually do need to get that second episode of my Rugged Thoughts podcast out, of Gods and Men, Why Belief Matters, because I really just wanted to go off a rant about belief just now. But briefly looking over here at the dollar chart, right? So let me actually just pull up the other layout that I use. And so go to the dollar chart really quick, right? And so look at the dollar chart. Since the dollar chart has traded up into the volume imbalance here and into this high on the daily chart, it's really just been held in consolidation. And so that's another reason why I'm not really anticipating anything special this week. All of May, well, since like, you know, the 11th here, bullish May. 1 day worth of retracement, 3 day run. 1 day retracement, 4 or 5 day run into that level. And then a consolidation, could consider this a retracement here, back into this old inefficiency, use it as an inversion. Higher again, back into this, which is still technically acting as resistance. Although I've changed the shade to brown, which means that a potential inversion level. It's only because of the fact that price action is literally working this zone, working this range as it consolidates, and in my opinion is doing some sort of accumulation. Well, that's accumulation of long positions or buy orders by the powers that be to then push it up to, for example, this weekly level, or that's the accumulation of short orders, sales, to then take it back down to one of these levels and here, possibly this weekly range here. And so that's another reason as far as just why I haven't been too eager to post anything live this week, just because it's like navigating a minefield. Everything is ultra sensitive. Every high, every low is a chance it may get there, is a chance it may get there, get through it, and then quickly reject back into the range. And so those are conditions that are low probability, in my opinion, not worth the risk. But the crazy thing is, with an understanding of the perspective of liquidity and having a narrative that lines up with a couple of different assets that are correlated or inversely correlated, it then becomes a little bit more easy to have rules to simplify the whole process, because my brain would be fried, to be honest, this week. I would have lost so much just potential capital or actual capital this week a few months ago without the understanding that I have now. And so, with that being said, I just want to shout out the believers. Again, shout out to the homies that inspire me to do better each and every day, right? Shout out to the dreamers. Y'all are my people. Y'all are my tribe. And so you've been keeping up. You've been watching. Just know that some great things are coming. I have to protect myself, protect my family, protect my interests. So there's certain things that I will not show in public, but I do have my the Believers Discord channel up. I already have a couple of homies that I fuck with that have been invited to it. So if I fuck with you and you tap into my videos, then obviously just hit me up, let me know. I'll get you an invite to there, because that will be more or less where I'll open up a little bit more about some of my success and some of my struggles. And within that group, probably a select few people will be, even before my family, right? Will probably be the ones to know, like, okay, yeah, he's different. He done did some crazy shit. He done, really took this thing to the next level. But with that being said, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.